Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sachat, Parabrahmam, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sadasiva Samarambam, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryandam, Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sakhana Bhavadu, Sakhana Upanattu, Sakaviryam Karabhavahai, Tejas Vina Vadita Mastuma Vitvishabhai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram Atva Jnana Pradam Guru Mukshunam Hidarthaya Tattva Bodha Abhidhiyate. Namaskaram. So we have, just to have a recap, I think we had a week of gap for you to recall what we discussed. So we are learning Tattva Bodha together. And before the Tattva Bodha, we had an introduction to Vedanta. We had 10 or 11 sessions. We talked about the Vedanta. And also we touched about the Shanti Pada, Asadoma Satgamaya. Then the Tattva Bodha as a Prakarana Grantha. Remember, this is a very simple but very powerful text to giving us the essence of the whole Vedanta. So we started that, and then we first finished the Sadhana Chatushtayam, which gives the Adhikaratam, basically what is the qualification we need. And then we went to the Tattva Vicara. So it contains 58 verses. It's not really a verse, 58 sentences, statements, couplets. We finish up to 36 after finishing the Sadhana Chatushtayam, which is the qualification to enter into Vedanta, but rather the qualification to lead a life, a peaceful life. We learned theoretically and took an assumption and a vow that we do what is needed to inculcate those qualities in our life. Because as we grow in life, these qualities convert us into a mumukshu, the one who asks for the liberation. Then we went to Tattva Vicara from verse 14 to 36. We've gone through with a questions and answer session with the teacher about who am I and what is the jiva, what is the atma, the microcosm or the vyashti. Now we are going to go to the macrocosm. So we will learn this in the next maybe 2 or 3 sessions. Now we know the qualities, we know the microcosm, the myself, the self, the macrocosm, the universe. Then we move on to the most interesting part. There is no difference between these two, the unification. And that is revealed by some Mahavakyas, the profound sentences. So therefore, we will come to the conclusion that there's nothing other than me, everything is one. And then we conclude by saying, what is the prayojanam of this? What is the benefit of this? And then we ask the question, but this is not happening to me. I am suffering. Why? Then the law of karma comes into picture. Then we talk about karma, and therefore we complete the whole Grantham to give us everything that we need to pursue the life peacefully. So now the Guru starts. I know somebody requested that we do the recital of the text. I think it's interesting to do that, but maybe we'll do once we finish the session because we have limited time. We read what we need to do in every class. So the teacher now starts after finishing Atma Kaha. Now he moved to the macrocosm, and therefore he states, Atha Chaturvimsati Tattva Utpatti Prakaram Vaksyamaha. So Vaksyamaha means, may that be told. Let me say that. say what? Utpatti prakaram. Utpatti means creation. Just now, I think we learned about this creation, confusion that Arjuna go through. The God creates, he destroys. Is he good or bad? Why is all this happening? We get very confused. All this started with the Utpatti, with the creation. So what is the Utpatti prakaram? What is the method? What is the process by which this Srishti is happening? That we will explain by how Chaturvimshati Tattva, by 24 Tattvas. So the teacher is now, he's not waiting for the disciple to ask the question. He just states, now I'm going to teach you how this creation started, progressing it through 24 Tattvas. You remember that we learned about 19 Tattvas for the Jiva Vicara. Do you remember that? Panchakosha and the experiences, Panchaprana, and all that. Now, we will know this step by step. But the interesting word here is atha. Atha generally means thereafter. Atha also is a Mangala patha. You know, in the Katha collection, they say Athav Hitanarambatli. Athav. That means having completed certain things. That's the assumption here. So you can understand this only after completing something that the teacher is implying by the word atha. What did we do before? We were told in the Vedanta session to be complete in knowledge. One must know everything in the world. Sarvagyan is knowing everything. So what are the things to be known? That form into three categories. Of course, the first is the world in front of you, the Jagat. If there is the world, there may be a creator. We call him Ishvara. So we should know about the Ishvara. And often overlooked, often not put priority, is the self itself. Who am I? So if I know the Jiva, who I am, if I know the Jagat, what is this world, and if I know the Ishvara, I am a Sarvagyan, I know everything. Therefore, if the knowledge is a pursuit, and one wants to be a completely knowledgeable in everything, he must need to know just three things: Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. So Vedanta always simplify everything, and then inside it hides the complexities. So the way it is given, Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara, is again, Vedanta is everything is ulta compared to our material life. In our life, nobody taught us, the kindergarten doesn't start with knowing who you are. No. Kindergarten starts with A for apple, everything outside. And then we go on, and all our scientific pursuits is looking at the Jagat and learning this. So Vedanta says, let that be. You start with the Jiva. So we start with the Jiva Vicharam or Atma Vicharam. There is also a purpose for it. Because if you want to learn about the world, which we are doing, where does it start and where does it end? You learn about chemistry, physics, astronomy, biology. There are numerous sciences coming through. People you cannot read, objects you cannot study. So it is infinite regression. It just keeps on going in an infinite loop. By now, I think we are all comfortably matured in life. By now, we should concede that there is no way we can learn the Jagat, the way that we are approaching the Jagat. We can never learn it. Okay, let's learn the Ishvara. So we form a statue, a murti, a temple. We have mantras. Sometimes we don't understand the mantras. We recite. We have been asked to do that to understand Ishvara, but we conveniently converted that into asking Ishvara for things. We start begging him, give me that, give me this. So the understanding concept is gone. And even if you want to understand Ishvara by mantras and words and letters, and no matter what it is, it seems like a no-starter. So this looked like a con art because Sarvagyam means knowing these three simple things, but we can't do any of those two things. That is why Jiva Vicara, forget the God, forget the world, just know yourself. We started that. So that means I must first know myself, then I start to the world and to the God. The process still exists. That's the secret now Vedanta gives you. The reason the Atma Vichara started first and will continue next, it will always exist as the only Vidya that you need to do. It is also called Sri Vidya, Mahavidya, Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya. It's because by the completion of Atma Vidya, the Jagat Karanam is resolved, the Ishvara Karanam is resolved. Therefore, by knowing yourself, you become a Sarvagyan. How that is possible? This is the puzzle that we are going to slowly unwrap and solve. So the teacher, therefore, is going to show us, fine, keep the jiva for a while. Let us understand the Jagat. He's going to say Jagat and Ishvara together because by knowing the world, you'll know the Ishvara. And this is called the Samashti Vicara or the macrocosm Vicara. So the Tattva Bodha text is now asking us to park the Atma Vichara, jump into the Jagat Vichara, Samashti Vichara, or Ishvara Vichara, whatever you want to call it. Vichara means inquiry, Samashti means macrocosm, Jagat means the world, Ishvara is the creator of the world. The text will jump into enumerated answers. It's quite easy to get the meaning for it, but to contextualize it well, we need to recap the Atma Vichara so that we know why we are learning about the world. So if you've not remembered whatever we said so far, it's a good opportunity to recollect. We said Atman. Atma is the self. I, you. So every time I say Atman, you think about yourself. So we inquired the Atma by going through what is not Atma. We've gone through this process. And then we completed our study. Atma is Sat Chit Anandam. Satyam Jnanam Anandam. We use the word consciousness. So I want you to think in going forward to understand it better. This consciousness, the Atman, we will see them in two perspectives. Bear with me right now. It may be a little bit difficult to comprehend, but it'll come very clear. First, we take it as Atma is Chaitanyam, consciousness, pure consciousness. It is like a light, it's like a field. Field is a domain or an area where things happen. So it's simply you can understand consciousness is Atma, Chaitanya. So we take this approach and validate our understanding. But there's another aspect we look at it. We mentioned that when we discuss the Avastatraya, we call it Sakshi. Atma is Sakshi. Now, there's a difference between these two. Pure consciousness is by itself. It's pure, Advaitam, non-dual. But when you say Sakshi, witness of what? You cannot have a witness unless there is something to be witnessed. Therefore, the moment we see Atman as a Sakshi, there is already Advaitam. There is something else to be witnessed. How this Dvaitam happens, we will leave it for a later discussion. Let us assume that everything is Dvaitam now. Everything is multiple, different, varied. But from our point of view, the consciousness was pure, non-differentiated, undifferentiated. The moment it becomes a Sakshi, there is something. So this Chaitanyam, we also learned, Sat Chit Anandam. It's eternal. It's immediate. See, immediate, the word immediate means there's a mediation needed. If I want to listen to a radio, I need a radio. A medium is needed. If I need to speak to you, I need the network. Network is a medium. Where there is no medium, that's immediate. The only thing that is immediate is yourself. Of course, I can see the computer immediately, but we forget the time it takes, the photons traveling from this to eyes and everything. It takes time, but we don't see that. But in true sense, immediacy is only in knowing yourself. There is no medium needed, no upadhi needed. Nobody needs to prove it to you that even if somebody says, I don't believe in God. Fine, don't believe in God. But do you believe in yourself? Do you see your existence? Nobody can deny it. So therefore, everybody is astika. If you say astika is only by the Shastra Pramanam, then okay, there are nastikas. But astika is asti. Whatever is asti, asti is existence. Nobody can say, I don't exist. Even a lunatic, even a madman knows his existence. So everybody is astika. So immediate and self-luminous. This we learned. But this is a passive seeing. It's unconditional. It is just a light, like a sunlight. Sunlight may drop in a gutter or in a river or in an ocean. It doesn't care. It's an unconditional field. Sakshi is a witness. It creates, therefore, a Vishaya and a Vritti. Vishaya is an object, any object, a physical object or a mental object, whatever. The Sakshi sees a Vritti. Vritti is a movement in your mind or Indriyas. Very important to understand. We normally say we see something because the eyes see, then we understand the Indriyas see. That's what we stop it. But Indriyas don't see. Indriya has no power to see. They are inert. In the Chaitanyam, the Sakshi allows the Indriya to get agitated and create everything. The Indriyas of the mind, therefore, takes Vishaya and you see it, Loka Drishti. Loka means the look, the world, Drishti is. So now you are here, Drishti is also hearing, sensing, everything. So what happened then? There's an active seeing. Now you are listening to me. You are actively hearing. I'm hoping you're hearing me. Actively seeing the computer. Because there's a Vishaya to see. There's some pictures on the screen. The Vishaya created vritti in your mind, a thought in your mind, a chalanam in your mind, because of your indriyas. And therefore you have a loka drishti. You are actively seeing. Therefore you think, okay, I am Dr. Mani, I am Bala, I am so-and-so, I am seeing this. So you are the active seer. But you are really not the active seer. You are the Chaitanyam. That is a transition that we need. Please label this idea because it's very important to understand. So every thought that comes to you is called cognition. The cognition can be, this picture can be changed. For example, the Vishaya doesn't need to be outside. Now when you are discussing the class, sitting in the class, somebody may be thinking, what about the milk I kept in this kitchen? You're not seeing the milk, but the samskara is there. So either the internal object or external object create a vritti and you see things. It's cognition. It's called pratyaya in Sanskrit. I strongly recommend that you have a list of those words. You'll keep on repeating those things. Pratyaya is cognition. You don't need a proof from me because you know it. You have a cognition, you think. All this is very clear. The right side to me is very clear. But you must understand the witness is different from cognition. The awareness is different from cognition. This is very important, very practical tool if you understand this. Practically, you can balance your life better if you understand the difference between cognition and being the witnessing awareness. Take this experiment. Just now, close your eyes or not. Now think about the most dear image of God or dear person that you love in your mind. Think about the wonderful time that you had with the person. It's enjoyable. Now, what happened now? You allowed me to come into your mind and create the vritti of this cognition. You accept it. And if you sincerely followed, you had thoughts. You thought about the person you loved. But while thinking, you also have this awareness that you're doing it because you're asked to do. It's happening in you. It may also appear to you as a thought, because thought is an expression, but you are able to see the thought. How do we actually segregate this is what the Yoga Tantras gives you. To have control of situation, one should be aware. Bhagavan Ramana said, when somebody asked a question to him, very confusing thoughts everything is, give me something which is very simple for me to follow. What is this all about? And he said, attention. He said in English. Chadwick asked the question, he said, attention. Everything is finished. If you pay attention, see what happened to the child, in the school, when children are studying in the class, you remember the teacher told you, attention. What is she trying to do? The teacher is trying to draw your awareness of the present. When you say attention, the teacher is not asking you to look at your homework yesterday. No, attend to me now, this very moment. Attention is what? The success of life. Attention to the present. Why is the present? Because the right side that you see, the vritti, indriya, vishaya, everything is thought, and thought can happen only in the past or in the future or about the future. You can never think in the present. When you think a thought, the thought has happened in the past. I repeat again, thoughts is always in the past. But I'm experiencing it. Well, experience is present. But the moment you think of an experience, when I asked you to think about someone very beautiful that you had time with, it is just a street thought of an experience. It is not experience. Okay, that experience may give you some joy. So attention means experiencing the now. Living is experiencing the now. Therefore, living is attention. But we have everything other than attention. That's why the samsara comes in. So here I'm digressing here, but at the point I'm trying to make, even though we see the Atma as two, witness and the witnessing consciousness. Sakshi Chaitanyam, Shuddha Chaitanyam. So only from this difference we have this perception, object, subject, difference comes in. I, mine, everything comes out because you have this split, this two split. But don't I have to have this kind of a differences? Not everybody can be just, stay in a pure conscious state. Nothing works. We got to have this kind of vritti and take ownership. Yes, of course. You have to have differences in life. Imagine a garden full of same white color rose, exactly same size. Bit boring. It'll be rose wood. It's not a garden anymore. It has to have colors, varieties. The world is like this. Differences are very important. Dvaitam is important. But Dvaitam has to be handled. So to understand the differences and to manage it, we must have this Atma Vicara. I'm building up because we are going to see lots of differences in the world when we discuss the world. So a question may come. We talk about this awareness, okay, you give some example, I can think about it, but I can't differentiate thought from awareness. What is the evidence of it? The evidence of it is just yourself. The pratyaya, the cognition of the sakshi pratyaya is swayam siddha. Nobody can prove this to you. The proof is, do I exist? If you have doubt on it, then you have a problem. Therefore, evidence of witness, you don't ask. Evidence of sakshi is very clear because we take control that I do it. Therefore, is the Atma or the I notion I have, is it the witness? So Bhagavan says, understand who you are. Ahankaram. What is it? Is it the consciousness? No. This is the active seeker. So from here, this part, somehow forget this part. It thinks I am everything, I know everything. This is I. So this I, my house, my poetry, my lecture, I achieved it. I am big. All this thing coming out of this right side of it without any cognition of this Chaitanya. It is like a reflecting glass animates, it burns a cotton. The glass thinks now, I am powerful, I can burn the cotton. The glass got the light from the sun. So when you take you remember the word, what we use for? Chidabhasham, mimicking the Chaitanya. So I just wanted to say this so that we don't forget this, the Atma Vicharan, because we're going to come back to this. There is no way you can understand God. There's no way you can understand the world completely, but you can understand, or at least beginning to realize who you are. When you realize who you are, the world abides in you, the God abides in you, and you are full. So that is what we are going to go. Therefore, you remember this, go back to this again and again so that this is always in your mind. So this notional I is, we call it Jiva or the Sukshma Sarira, that which has got the illuminating light, the little bit of reflection here, and it goes around. That which is not going anywhere, everywhere is there, is a true I, the true self, the Atma, the Ishvara, the Mahavishnu, the Parameshwara. I am taking the liberty to say in the same breath, when I say I and Ishvara and God, that's what Vedanta asks you to say. And you will say one day, when you realize it by the grace of God. That's what Vedanta says. Okay, now we go to this, the new lesson now. We are not going to talk about the 24 now. We'll come back to this later. Because that's very simple. Do you remember that we talked about the Pancha Prana, Panchakosha? Same way, we're going to say the world is also having so many components. So that is very simple to understand. But the teacher now says a different statement. Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. I don't know why he says that, right? First he said, after this, I'm going to teach you about the creation by 24 tattvas. So you are waiting with your fingers to count the 24. But he says something else. Very important why he says this. He used the word Maya. So he wants to introduce the word Maya so that you understand, or at least try to understand, what is Maya. And he says, Maya Asti. Maya exists. So therefore, we can start with a very positive way. So because when the word Maya is a very completely seduced word, it's got so many different interpretation meanings. Of course, this is the case with many of those Vedantic terms. And they lend themselves to support many arguments. Therefore, you cannot really, like a blind man seeing the elephant, you can't just take one interpretation and go. Our goal is very clear. Therefore, we understand all the context of these words. So first, therefore, we understand what is Maya. Can anybody say what is Maya? First thing comes to mind, magic, illusion, deception. That's how we have been normally told. Or some may say, no, this is God, the power of God. So we must understand this first. What is Maya? The very term itself, so Ma is also, there's one way of interpretation is Ma is Matra, that which measures. Ya is that which everything is measured, everything is made, everything that become, which means Maya by itself means the whole prapancham, the whole universe, which means we saw that everything is God. The Maya is God. Is one definition. But then we have text saying that Maya will entrap you. Bhagavan says, Gita, Maya will entrap you. You need my grace to escape it. We must transcend Maya. The another definition is Ma means not in Sanskrit. So if I ask you a question, what is Maya? If you say illusion, I would say Maya. You say God, I would say Maya. If you say Prapancham, I will say Maya. But if you say Maya is Maya, I will say that is correct. Enough confusion, right? Ma means not. Ya means that. Maya means not that. Which means anything that you say this is Maya, that's not Maya. It's like a word play, right? You say Maya creates everything. Maya is there, the Prabhanja, but Maya is not. But Maya is Asti, but Maya is not. Asti or Nasti? So let's take in a simple approach. Maya is the power that is independent of the God. And God uses the power and creates the world. There is a school of thought. It's called Sankhya. So Prakriti, it's called. Prakriti exists independent of Purusha. Purusha is a Chaitanya. Prakriti is the Jada Shakti. So God takes this Prakriti and then combine, the world is created. So this is one way. But this is not accepted by Vedanta, because the moment there is something in existence in parallel to the God, then God is not omnipotent. He is not all. Duality comes in. So we don't like that. And also we know here says Brahma Ashraya. Brahma Ashraya. Ashraya means depending on it. Depending on the Brahma. So Brahma Ashraya, Maya Asti. Maya is depending on the Brahma. Like, the computer is on the table. Not like that. This is computers on the table. Table is different, computer is different. The example I can say is like the chaya, like the shadow. The shadow depends on the figure. The shadow abides in me, extends from me, looks different from me, but it depends on me. If I don't exist, chaya doesn't exist. You understand? Therefore, Maya, Brahma Ashraya, therefore Maya Asti means Maya exists in Brahman or because of Brahman. It has no independent existence. Something should ring the bell to you if you followed the words. What is that which has got existence but not independently? Appearance but not independent existence? Mithya. So you were going to use the word Mithya at some stage, but Maya is much in a bigger way we're looking at it. So Maya is Asti at Brahman. Therefore, this statement, independent of God, no. So what do we fall into? Maya, therefore, is the power of God. That, see, we wanted to know, we wanted to somehow make a statement, the world is created by God, because we are talking about the world and Jagat and Ishvara. So we are making an equation now. Jagat is made by Ishvara. But something needs to be done. Therefore, the power of God, if it is Maya, it is not outside. Therefore, it should be the power of God. This is the 99% of all the religions, Vedantic principles, higher order principles take. It's a very good idea, very good thought. Yes, if world is created by the God, it must be the power of God. You can call it Maya. Ambal is called Maya Shakti. Lakshmi is called Maya. Parashakti is called Maya. Then we will have a problem there. You are now a Vedantic student, right? So you have to be really, take it with a Shraddha. If everything is created by God, using his power, then everything is God's order. Of course. Then what am I to do? If evil thoughts come to me, it's God's creation. Calamity is God's creation. Tsunami, God's creation. I fail, I am impoverished, God's creation. I have nothing to do. So therefore, this is not a problem for the other Jivarasis, because they don't have mind of Vicara. They go by the sentient principle, they go by the instinct. That's why we worship the vrishams, we worship the trees, worship the monkeys and cows, because they are animated being, but they are completely divine because they abide in God. They just take what it is. They don't go and cook. They don't go and, a butcher in a butcher's shop, one goat may be slaughtered. Other goat sees it and it is not having fear. It is just eating its grass. Why? It has no fear, nothing. But we have fear. Therefore, if power of God creates everything is God. I have nothing to do. So that kind of a thinking may creep in. There are people like this, fatalistic, destiny. Jains are like that. There's one part of Sanatana Dharma is like this. Everything is fate, destiny, nothing, accept everything. It is like making mockery of God then, right? Why is he giving you willpower? So we have to accept this. Don't mistake me. I'm not saying against this. We have to accept this because it is such a comfortable statement. Everything is made by God. God is everything. You worship to him. But there is something that I need to transcend, because if I am just like this, I might as well be a stone. So God has given me something, therefore I can transcend something. How can I transcend God? How can I transcend the power of God? Therefore, there must be something which God is telling me that he is, because, we saw in Gita in 2nd chapter, Nishkamika, Nishkalanga, Nirvigara, Nishkarma, Akarma. He doesn't do anything. Chaitanyam, witnessing, Sakshi doesn't do anything. Sakshi is not involved. So God does not create. God does not act. Because if he acts, karma comes to him, kriya comes to him. But he's in his witness, like, sun as the sunlight as blossomed the lotus. Is it really? Did sun do the action? So there's a power of presence, something happens, and there is something in between that transits the power of presence to the creation. So therefore, that power of God is Maya. So we take the second sentence, refine a little bit, read very carefully. Maya is the power of God that creates all. It looks like a wordplay. It's not. It is like the sunlight is an example of it. Sun exists, everything exists. Sunlight makes everything happen. The Brahman exists. Brahmashraya, Maya exists. Everything is created. Now, we have an alibi now. We have an excuse now. So all our issue, problems, confusion, samsaram, trouble, therefore, I won't say to the Brahman, I'll put the blame on the Maya. Who is easy to blame in the household? Father, if you blame, he will give a slap. Everything is mother. Mother is the bearer of everything. She creates, she breeds. Therefore, when children doesn't do anything, father will say, how you have nurtured your child. Mother carries everything. So Maya is seen as a Shakti, Maya Shakti. She creates everything in the presence of Brahman. Then some schools of thought took it, Shaktam, Shakti is everything. So therefore, even all these gods, Shivam, Brahman, everything is just like a corpse. I worship the Shakti. Absolutely, great. Or some say, no, it is Shivam and Shakti, or Vishnu and Lakshmi, something, Chaitanya form and Shakti form. Shivam is big or Shakti is big. One cannot be without the other. Discussions. Interesting. But in a Vedantic point of view, Everything is right, but there's something supremely right, which is Brahman alone exists. The Brahman's power is the Maya. Therefore, it allows you, the creation has got, at least in our current mindset, we are not pure yet, we see the good and bad. Like we say, okay, what a bad weather, we say. How can weather be bad? When it's rain, it has to rain. Shine, it has to shine. It's a law of nature. But for us, it's bad because our mind is filtered. So therefore, with the filtered mind, with the perception we have, with the hankara we have, the jiva is seeing many good things, many bad things inherently in the nature. If it's everything is by this power of God, we call it Maya Shakti. Therefore, the Maya has to be having both good and bad. So for the learning purposes, some of the schools, therefore, split this Maya into two. Like in Saiva Siddhantam, if you go, Ashuddha Maya and Shuddha Maya. Bhagavan says in Gita, Paraprakriti, Aparaprakriti, lower form and a higher form. All that is given to you only to give you a spoon feeding. Arundhati Nyayam. Yes, we take it, knowing that we are going to discard it later. God says in Bhagavad Gita, everybody comes to my lower Prakriti and lie there. He's right. Then he'll say, I will help you to transcend. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya. Mameva Prabhatyante. From me is everything comes out. Maya comes out. See, you must understand the purpose why Bhagavan says that to Arjuna. Arjuna is not a renunciated Atmagyani and is looking for mumukshu from there. He is looking for victory. Jitendram is what he needs. For him, he has to do the job. So God teaches him that what he needs to do. Just listen to me. I will take care of your Maya. Fight. Of course, we need that one. Here we are looking at the Vedanta Darshanam, Atmajnanam. Here, who is that we need to surrender to? Who is this God we need to surrender to? We're talking about the Atmajnanam. The equation I have to tally. Therefore, the Atma has to be that Parabrahma. The Mahavishnu, the Krishna that is standing in front of Arjuna is nothing but Arjuna's Shuddha Chaitanya. So, if I surrender to this Atma, Shuddha Chaitanyam, I can transcend the Maya. So, what is this Maya? I have, like, simple thing like, sun rises, sun sets. We know that it doesn't. No, we think about our life. Life comes in, goes in. Illusion. Sometimes we say Maya is illusion. Illusion is deception. It's not deception here. If you see a magician in a stage, he brings out a pigeon, right? It's an illusion. He deceives, right? The pigeon lives for a few seconds, it just flutters and somehow goes away. Indrajalam, they say. What about you and what about me? What about anybody? No, I'm born, wander around the world, did some mess in the world, one day I'm gone. Why can't I be the pigeon on the stage? I have persisted a little bit longer. Is it not? Neither I know how the pigeon came on the stage, but I simply took the advantage of the word illusion. That means you don't have to explain it. Illusion. Fine. Right? Explain to me, how are you breathing? How are you born? How are you running through this? Someone asked this, I forgot the name, it's Tyagaraja or Sadashiva, I don't know. This idol was giving him, talking to him. And he's doing the puja, the idol talks to him and gives me instruction what to do. He's Ishtadevata. How can an idol talk? So he goes and asks Ramana, how can somebody say the idol talks? It's just a jadam. Bhagavan always gives you answer in a one word. Nee mattum enna? What about you? Think about yourself. We are jadam, we are inert. So therefore illusion is okay, so we borrow the word. Illusion can be Maya, but you have to understand the time horizons are different. When it is an illusion persists, it becomes a reality, is it not? So we call it real because it is an illusion that goes on for a longer time. Therefore, to answer the question, what is Maya? We use the word Karana Prapancham. Do you remember the word Karana Shariram? Causal body. So if you take right now we analyze the Jiva. Now we are analyzing the world. If you remember in our class, the world came as a boy as well as Atma as well. So if you take the whole universe as a body, embodiment, like Karana Sharira that I have and you have, the world has got Karana Prapancham, the causal world. The cause of the world is Maya. The word Prapancham is a very important word. And Gaudapada in his Karika write about the Prapancham Upashamanam. The place where you get fulfillment is where you negate the world. Of course, he was criticized because then a certain school of thought came in and they abused him as an illusionist. But what he said was, where you have the experience of the external world is gone. That is Turiyam. Example is the dream world. Dream world persists for, even in fact, the dream is, if you look at the science, the dream happens only for a few seconds. Dream doesn't happen for many hours. It only happens a few seconds. But you can see in the dream you have lived the whole life. You're born, gone to school, married, everything's finished. The times are different. So this Karana Prapancham is Maya. So let's take the definition. We do not know exactly how it is created. How much time I have? I got 5 more minutes. So I think so far so good. Let's take the next step. I will finish with this slide. I'm going to take 5 more minutes today extra so that come to the logical end. So this Prapancham, the world, I want to tell you, you all know it. I want to remind you, is full of objects. We see the world as full of objects. Every object has got a dimension to it. Therefore, a 3-dimensional is there. And it has got a temporal nature. It exists, changes, and goes away. So time and space, you don't need to be explained. You know it very well. If there is an object, there is a space and time for it. There's also what's called a causality. Causality means there is a reason for it to be there. Is it not? That's why everything we look for a reason. Why it is there? How it is there? The whole science is about time and space and causality. I want to talk science for 5 minutes so that you can see that how it is related to that. Just we talked about the time and space before. We know it now. Time and space are one. Now we talk about the cause, karanam. Of course, we go to physics. Physics is what studies this world objectively for us. And in summarize, in a very summary form, all the classical physics thought, they look at the world full of objects, things, and things have causes. Everything has got a cause. And the cause have to happen to trigger a change. If the apple has to fall, something is pulling it, a change. And everything got a predictable way. If you know the cause, you can predict the effect. That's what they believed. Why? Because they assumed everything happens in one uniform space and time. So if I pull this ball with this force here, or if I do the same thing in New York, exactly same. Or if I take the 10 times bigger ball and 10 times bigger force, exactly same effect. It's linearly proportional. And we also believed if I push this one card, this card will push the next card, the whole pack of cards will fall. So every change create another change. And this is important science because that's how Industrial Revolution came in. Motors came in, mechanical devices came in, clock came in. A little wheel spins, it rotates, bigger wheel, bigger wheel, bigger wheel. So we are able to automate things. Then we know that we know the world. Everything is very clear. Time and space fixed. Everything works with the cause. We manage it. So causality is understood, but very linear way. Then came Leibniz. Leibniz came and then Einstein came. No, I'm sorry. I agree with you. Everything is predictable, mechanical. When you are within this world, the moment you transcend this world means here the earth, there is a change. Nobody knew this, there could be a change. Everything looks same in the sky. But once you cross the atmosphere, the space and time changes. So there is not a single line of time. And also we talked about the last session, there's no single blanket of space. We are entrapped in one space and time. Therefore, within us, everything looks same. Therefore, if you're talking about the God and Prapancham and everything else, there has many different times and space. Therefore, the causality changes. See, without going too much into this, effect is local. I can't now say, I'm going to now push Balaji away. I can't do that because he is far away from me. Something called locality in physics. Objects can affect locally when they are closer, and there is something between these two objects that transit the power. So if I am saying something loud and it hits your ears and you get disturbed, you are local to me and there's a medium of air that takes a seat. That is locality. But causality is not like that. Causality doesn't need to be local. Science believes in it. Believe me, it is not a magic. Science has got causality as a big subject that things don't need to be in the same space and domain. Einstein got a problem with this. Until such time, the quantum theory came in. You said? That's why in Sanatana Dharma, we say karma can create. If you go to pray to God, God can give you blessing and things will happen. Somebody is in Australia and you pray here and you get cured. Causality, not locality. We were laughing at our beliefs because it's unscientific in our view. But if you're truly scientist, you will know that causality is a big subject. In quantum theory, there's a causality. Not only causality in a forward direction, it's called retrocausality. It is not that I hit, it moves away. It can also happen backwards. It is confusing. The quantum uncertainty came in. It's still there. People are researching it. So what I'm saying is, even they are not able to define causality. Therefore, don't ever be ashamed that Maya is anirvachanya, that you cannot define it. Even among Vedantis, some discredit that you cannot define it, then you are not a good science. No, undefinable is a part of science. Spooky action at distance is Einstein's word. He regretted it. I mean, if you have time, read this last few days of Einstein. It's beautiful. He regrets that he could not really take that bold step to say, uncertainty exists in the quantum. You see, I'm building the picture that Maya is very complex. We are not here to understand it. We want to revere, we want to appreciate it. You're going to appreciate it by saying that this is an undefinable power of God, which illumines by the grace of God. But as an illusion, it is deceptive, it hides. What is the biggest deception? Okay, I want to finish now. What is the biggest deception? The biggest deception is we are learning all these things. There are a lot of lectures being given by many years, by many gurus. What are they giving? The fundamental lessons that you are not who you think you are. Why am I not knowing this? This is a deception. This is the only deception that we need to call it an illusion. Everything else is not illusion. The world is not illusion. The world is real when you are in this world. Like a dream is real when you are in the dream. Advaita takes about a paramarthika satya, where when you transcend it. So you don't apply this law here. Even the great scholars complain about Advaita Vedanta because of the misunderstanding of it. So what are we taking from all this? How is it useful to me in my day-to-day life? It is to recognize that I am not the notional I, but I need the identity. Therefore, when I say my house, my action, my duty, I am wrong. But I will do the duty without any attachment to the duty. Therefore, when you do the action, when you take up your hand, when you take up your tools, you are a notional I, because you have to really, this is Raja, this is my house, I must go take my car, go to the shop, I do all that. But in terms of ownership for the action, I am the Chaitanya. I am just witnessing them. How do we switch this one? It's very difficult to switch. This is where I said the word attention. You have the attention all the time. Keep observing yourself all the time. Every word you speak, every thought you think, everything you do, you create an observer in you that he observes you. Is it difficult to do? No, you do it all the time. Especially when you do a performance. When you want to go to the stage, you want to do a dance today, or you want to give a speech, or you're going to the interview. Interview is a better example. You go to interview, a new job, you want to get it. You prepare, rehearse it, think through it. If you ask this way, I did this way. You go to the interview happens. You will see your observer in you is getting up. He's watching you. That's why you're able to do the interview better, because you are watching you. I mean, I remember this guy, Usain Bolt said, I said to the interview, and you're standing there. He says that when I am kneeling down, waiting for the marker to fire, in that fraction of maybe 1 or 2 seconds, he ran this 100-meter dash. He got 8.9 seconds, but he said on that 1 second, I ran through it. I visualize every step, gone through it. And when I run, I think the same way. It's amazing. But we do it for a particular goal, which we should do. Every youngster should learn this one, to win the argument, win the project, do everything, study well. You focus on this observer. But if you take it to emotional life, when you get angry, when you get disturbed, when you get hurt, when the ego comes in, bring this monitor and say, attention. So there are practical benefits of this, because if there are no practical benefits, it's a waste of time. So you must really apply these practical benefits. I want to stop it here because I think next part is a little bit complex. So we will take one more session on the Maya, and then we wrap this Maya. Then it will be just a smooth running to enumerated results of it. So I will close it now. Om Shanti. Shanti.
Shanti.
So maybe Bala uncle can do the Upanishad.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya
Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya
Mrityorma
Mrityurma
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om.
Thank you, Raja.
Thank you. Thank you, Raja.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Balaji.
It's a pleasure.
Very interesting. Yeah.